Hello, it's Brian again, looking at some more crisis communications from the 2020 pandemic through institutions of higher learning. So, kind of piggybacking off of the do's and don'ts of words and phrases and terms to use in your messaging. I'm going to look at some videos in particular because I was very interested to see how the video products on social media and other digital platforms were going to perform. So I picked an example of both. I have a good video, what I think is a good video, and then I have what I think is not that good of a video. So looking at the good first, I like to get off on the right foot. There's this stately, classy, professional video from Washington University, St. Louis. This is the chancellor. So this is a message to the class of 2020, or it's a message basically saying commencement isn't going to happen. And anticipating that this could be a sensitive subject, the school has done a video message. So they have their main guy, the chancellor here, front and center, delivering the message as in person as he can be. Obviously, with a video, that's the whole point. You can't go to each individual student and tell them this, and you certainly can't do it during a pandemic. But they nailed a lot of it. So just the composition of this shot. I don't know what camera they're using, but it's a good one. I love the depth of field. I love that what they have behind him, and this is no accident. What they have behind him is basically a living room setting. It's almost like he's doing a fireside chants like Franklin Roosevelt. But you have like the fireplace, the mantle, a picture. These lamps behind him add to an ambiance, a sort of warm glow. And it's all blurred in the back. Again, the depth of field is terrific. He's lit perfectly. Unlike me for this video where I'm lit very poorly because you can see the shadow behind me. But this is very good lighting. And of course he's dressed professionally. And the sound quality is terrific.
And please bear with me as I try to get through this extremely difficult message.
And I don't even know what kind of microphone they're using because there's no lapel lavalier microphone visible. Not that that's a problem necessarily. My point is just that this is such a let's get him off that blink. There we go. It's such a well-crafted shot. They did an excellent job. The only thing I would say they could do better would be to have a graphic of some kind for his lower thirds here to identify him. Just something that makes it more wash you, whatever that may be. This is a bit boring. It's just text and there's nothing to it. Not that that's a huge problem again, but I think they could do a little bit better. He has this nice wash you, I think a wash you tie, so I would probably play off that. Just take those colors, maybe put the shield kind of emblem there, and you're off to the races, right? Not anything too complicated. So going off the sound quality,
out of all the communications we've shared this week,
he speaks with like a broadcast quality, which is excellent. If you're making a video like this, where you're having your big boss or someone high up in the school deliver a message, you're probably going to want somebody who can speak well. And sometimes you're just going to have to use the head honcho, even if he or she does not speak well. It's just the nature of the beast. This is a good one because he does both. He's the boss and he can speak well. But you're going to have to kind of gauge that. Sometimes with a big message, it just has to come from the top. You can't say, well, the provost or the dean of students is actually a better speaker, so that person should be on camera. No, for something big like this, if you think it's going to be a sensitive issue, you need to get the top guy out there because it can't go any higher than that. So if the students see it coming from him, they're going to realize that it's a big deal. They pulled out the big gun. They couldn't go any higher from the president. If you pull out the dean of students, it looks less important, and students might interpret that, or your audience might interpret that as the school saying, this issue isn't that important to us. It's not even important enough for the president or the chancellor or whomever to record the video himself or herself. So it's something to be aware of, particularly for these sensitive issues.
was personally
I
dreading
also
this
love the
one
script.
most. I
He
wanted to
talks
be
about
the
how
one
he
to tell
dreaded
you
it,
this.
and personally,
I first want to
a
say
personal
that though
touch.
none of
You
this
want
spring
him to
semester
speak
has gone the way we
I
had
and
planned or
me
hoped
and
for.
all that stuff, because this is his message, right? He's the guy speaking. We don't want to make it too, oh, WashU was dreading this, WashU that, WashU this. It's not WashU. WashU is a place. It's an institution. This is coming from a human being. What are his thoughts? Even if someone else wrote that for him, great, write it for him if you need to, but it needs to come from him. He needs to say, I didn't want to, I was dreading this message, but I feel like this is what we have to do. Especially when it's coming from the guy from the top, because if it's a big decision like canceling or postponing commencement, he is the one making that decision. Maybe in concert with others, but it's ultimately his call. So I just love the way they did this visually, and the audio and the script are all great. Again, I think they could do a little bit better with the lower thirds graphic, or the identifying graphic. And if there's one thing that I think really could have been done better,
I want you to know how proud
this
and
video
grateful
goes on and on and on and on and on
speech or debate, your last
and on and on and on
moment. I hope all of you can look back on this time.
and on and on and on. So it's over 3.5 minutes long. See, this is a very, very nice ending graphic, but I think you could probably shorten that by quite a bit. I think you want to deliver your message and be done. I don't think you need to make it too flowery, make it too prosaic, and fluff it up a whole lot. This almost is like an address, a commencement address. I feel like if you're going to do that, do it somewhere else. Like when you deliver the news, you want to deliver the news, and that's it. If you want to make an address, do that some other time. So this one's a bit long, but again, they did so many things so well, and I commend them on that. And if you look at some of the engagement, over 40,000 views. This is on YouTube, and they did put on other social channels. That's stellar. I love, tens of thousands of views. The like ratio isn't great. It's 335 likes, but it has 67 dislikes. But if you look at the actual comments, they're really good. This is what leadership looks like, says Kelly Marksberry. People are going to be disappointed, but they understand, as this one says, almost verbatim. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Chancellor. Lots of very positive things. And again, whenever you put your head honcho, and when you put a face out there who's somehow attributable or a part of the university, people are going to make that connection. So you have this comment from Karen Alberstone. I believe WashU has handled the entire pandemic crisis with great speed and with the well-being of all the students and graduates in mind. So you're getting some very positive comments here. I think people just really like to have a face. It's like whenever you have a customer service issue, you don't really want to just send an email in. Most people want to actually get someone on the phone or have someone to talk to face. It's just preferable to have a human connection with whatever problem that you're having. So this is an example of a good video, a video that I like, one that I think was effective. Now, another one that I wouldn't say on the other end of the spectrum, but one that I don't think is very good is this one from Liberty University. And just a little preface. So Washington University is a major school. It's the number 2 medical school in the nation. They have a lot of money at Washington University. This is Liberty. Liberty has a lot of money too. So that's part of the reason I'm comparing these two and not picking on a community college or something like that. Like, oh, they didn't do as good a job as, this very wealthy school. Liberty has a ton of money, and they get money all the time. Now, another caveat for this, 2 reasons. It's not a direct comparison. This doesn't have a person to it, which is part of the reason I don't like it. But it's also a different message. It is not a message that would require a president or chancellor or something like that. But they didn't use anybody. This would be a good time again to maybe put a face out there and have someone talk about these things. But instead, this is kind of one of those graphics videos. They get a bed of music and they just sort of put the text up there. It's pretty dull, I think. This is stuff that could just go on a web page and not be animated. I mean, we're just kind of waiting for something to happen here, and it's all going by slow. It's almost like a PowerPoint presentation. And death by PowerPoint is, I guess, part of college, but I don't know that you need it all the time. Interesting, perhaps, that they are appropriate that this is called slow the spread, because I feel like they're really slowing the spread of information here. I don't know why they didn't use a person. I think that would be a great time to have someone hit on some of these points. You could show them in sort of a bullet form on maybe one side of the screen and have someone kind of talk about them or elaborate on them on the other. People don't want to just look at a PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint should be sort of notes for the presenter, right? This is kind of your worst nightmare PowerPoint. And again, Liberty could do better. They have the money, they have the resources, they could do better than this. And I also want to point out, because I failed to mention it before, that the WashU video had basically no music. It was a very stark sort of presentation in that way, but it gave it a very solemn feel. It wasn't, they really nailed the atmosphere that they were going for, and it was uniform in its feeling. I mean, this one's, I guess, uniform, but it's very dull. And this is only 90 seconds long, a minute 25, but let's go. I mean, what's the point of this? Is this a video, or is this just web pages that have been lightly animated? If especially with like hours of operations for cafes and for dining halls, is this even something that needs a video, or could we just post this? Creating a video for the sake of a video isn't necessarily a good thing. I love video content. I think it's great to do, but just doing it because you can may not be part of it. I think you need to have a video that has a reason to be a video. Especially if you're going to share it on social media. If this were just, again, part of digital content is what's on your web page, but this could just be on a web page or something like that. It's pretty dull, and to share this, I think, kind of in the heat, the main area. This is from March 20th. That's right in the thick of the confusion and the mayhem of the initial responses, and then you have this dull, slow, not really that important video. I don't understand it. Quite frankly, I don't really understand it. Now, they do have this nice graphic, but it's kind of confusing too, by including the third party here, Sodexo. Maybe they made the video, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird hodgepodge of things. You have the school, you have the dining vendor, you have this perfectly fine, if kind of dull, again, motto or whatever this is supposed to be, tagline, I guess, and then a very important URL that I think the audience would like to know about. That's basically it. I mean, that's the whole video in a nutshell. It doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't really have a main purpose. I don't think that that's going to really reach the students. But I will say this, it did get 107 comments, which is a ton. But also, when you have an informational video, you're going to have a lot of just people asking questions and things like that. Will Liberty be prorating unused meal plans? You should be ashamed of your current choices to not offer refunds. Is there not classes from home? You're kind of getting the picture here. This isn't nearly as positive and as feel good as the prior video, the good example, let's call it. So much for faith in God and divine intervention. I'm not even really sure what some of these people are talking about, but the bottom line is it didn't necessarily go over extremely well, because I think they could have done a lot better. And again, I think one of the main ways to float those ideas and get those videos out there, they get those positive reactions, is to put a face to them and have an actual person go up there and say these things. Again, Liberty University's president around this, well, most times, but definitely around this time, was kind of embroiled in controversy. So he may not have been the most usable person on the planet for this. But you just have to find somebody else. You need somebody, even if it's like a student leader, a student body president, something like that. It'd be great to have somebody to come out here and actually say these things and speak to, on a personal level, speak to your audience. It's sort of the parasocial relationship. People can, obviously if you record a video, you're not speaking to anybody. You're talking into a camera, like I am right now. But you're trying to reach people, and people can make that connection. They do it all the time. They start to think, oh, that person's talking to me, or that person, I know them. They really do care. I believe them. This is a believable thing. It's sincere. It's authentic. Even if you don't know that person, you've never met them, you can get that vibe from a video with a person, but probably not from a video that's just animated text.